Hey everybody, Allison Gardner here. So as you can tell, different view, just to make things more exciting. I've been wrestling with something all day long. And it is, can I live in a world with people who have different opinions than I do? And I don't mean that in a contentious sort of way. I don't mean it in a, I can't live with other people. Like, I don't want to. It's not in that sense, but part of this loving myself process and learning how much I wasn't doing that was coming to terms with how hard that I worked to have the same ideas as everybody else, or at least to convey the same ideas as everybody else, and to try and fit myself in groups of other people where I felt comfortable because I wasn't the odd man out. And I worked really hard to not be the odd man out. And part of that happened in high school when I was so much the odd person out and just so much the weird one, the one-off one, the strange one, that since that time I've worked really hard not to be part of the in crowd, but just to not stand out, to not be different, to not be strange. And this last week, I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what I think and what I feel and what I care about. And to actually share that with people who think differently. And I don't mean on a huge grand scale of telling the whole world what I think. I don't mean it on this big huge scale of like planting my flag in and being like, this is my hill, come take it from me. I don't mean it in that sense at all, but a sense of, can I be comfortable with how I feel about things? Because I've thought it out and I look at it with my perspective and my understanding and my feelings about it as a thinking individual. Like, do I have enough confidence in myself and honor for myself that I'll stick by that no matter what else comes up or comes out? And in no way does that mean that I put my opinions in a box and I set them out there and then they're gonna stay that way for all time and I'm never gonna budge. I don't mean it in that way either, but just in the sense of, if I have a philosophical discussion with someone, will I say, hey, this is what I think and this is what I feel, without automatically changing my mind, without automatically trying to soften the edges so that I don't just cave when they say, well, this is how I look at it and this is how it should be done. Like, do I actually stand up for myself and say, hey, this is my thoughts, and I don't think what you suggested is wrong, but what about this and this? And this is really new thinking for me. Like, this is incredibly new thinking for me because, like, haven't considered that in a really long time. In a really long time. Because there was this one time when what I thought was wrong, I was 8 years old. And every time I go back to this piece of loving myself, every time I revisit this idea of sharing my thoughts and my opinions, even as that process morphs and grows and changes, I keep going back to that moment and how I felt when I inconvenienced someone else. And so I shaped a life around trying really hard not to inconvenience someone. And in such a supercharged world, if you're not supercharged in the same way as other people, it's really easy to feel like an inconvenience. It doesn't feel that far away from being a threat. And can I just say that right now is a really scary time to try and step into myself and my own ideas and to be comfortable in my skin when I actually dig in and I say, "Okay, Allison, what do you think? Okay, Allison, where are you coming from and why do you think the way that you think?" But that process is so necessary. It is so necessary to figure out what I think and why I think that way, and what I feel, and what life experiences that I had that give me the filters that I have to think the way I do and look at life the way that I do. And I have been in this process of trying to stand up for myself, and in this process of trying to be myself, I put myself out there in a couple ways, and I was an inconvenience to someone. And it was hard because even after I did that, I didn't know if I'd made the right decision. I didn't know if I had thought right. And so I then spent like a week questioning myself and being angry that if I had just made this one choice differently, if I just hadn't have stood up for myself in this way, or if I had just done this instead, that I wouldn't be in the position that I was in. And I just kept taking this to the Lord and asking for clarity and asking for understanding. And I just found his response so interesting. It wasn't, "Well, look at the world this way." It wasn't, "Well, you need to choose this thing." Do you know what he told me? He said, "Well, isn't it great, Allison, that you were able to figure out what you think and why you think it?" And then he said, "What if it isn't about a right choice versus a wrong choice? What if there isn't a right or wrong? What if it's just a choice that you get to make?" So often in my life, I get up because I have such a hard time standing up for myself, that then once I stand up for myself, I try and come up with tons of reasons of why I'm right, of why it's good for me to stand up for myself. And I can sometimes lose the fact that just because it's right for me doesn't mean it's right for everybody else, or that because they're living a different life and they have different experiences that shape them, and they have different places that they're going in their life, that just because something feels good to me doesn't mean that it's going to be good or right for everybody else. And what a powerful reminder that was for me in my journey of trying to figure out how to be okay with being myself, is that I don't have to be 100% right or 100% perfect to think a thing or to share a thing. But I don't learn and I don't grow if I don't share that thing. If I don't honor myself, I'm never up against a new idea. I'm never willing to expand or to grow, because I'm a chameleon that adapts to everybody else who doesn't know myself. I'm not in a place yet where I can say that it was 100% worth it, that I stood up for myself and I was totally myself and I went for it. And like, I'm so glad that I did. I'm not there yet. But I do see that I learned a lot about how I think about things. And I did learn a lot about myself. And in a world when I can't know anybody else, I can't crawl into anybody else's head and see what they're thinking. Being able to know where I'm coming from and why I'm coming from that direction is a very powerful thing, and something that I think I am willing to keep trying. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.